Hey everybody, welcome to FEF Tips Tuesday. In our last video we talked about the three kings of photography, and now we're going to flip them over to video and how they would work instead of for stills in moving pictures. Let's go! So if you're shooting with a DSLR like we do, the same rules that apply for stills also apply for video. So to recap real quick, ISO also kind of works for video as well. You increase the ISO on your camera to let more light in. In doing so, increasing ISO also gives you kind of more grainier video. And if that's the look you're going for, then go for it. But if you're a HD kind of file like us, if you need that crisp picture, kind of decrease the ISO. We recommend around ISO 100 to 200 for a less grainier and more sharper image. But that's not usually always the case. Sometimes you gotta boost your ISO a little bit more to get some more light into your sensor. Alright, now let's go to aperture for video. If you watch a lot of movies, you'll notice that a lot of films show a lot of the background when we're looking at a subject. They're not entirely in focus, but you can still make out where the subject is. So for video, I noticed the trend that a lot of Hollywood movies shoot in is usually around f5.6 or f8. That's kind of like the sweet spot, you know. It's not to blur the entire background. It's to kind of give you a sense of where the subject is in a certain setting. And you'll see a lot of movies do that. They don't completely blur out the entire background. But then that's kind of just a general rule. Feel free to break all these rules. You don't need to follow them all the time. But you'll just notice that as a general trend. Let's talk about shutter speed and frames per second. Most cameras, they shoot at about 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second. A lot of Hollywood cinema, their standard is usually at 30 FPS. And when you're adjusting your shutter speed, make sure that it's at least double the frames per second. So for example, if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, your shutter speed should be at least 60. And that's just kind of like a general sweet spot of where you want to be for shutter speed. If you want to capture smooth motion, so like subjects moving really fast, you want to increase the either FPS or the shutter speed. And in doing so, you'll see every inch of movement really clear. You might notice a lot of action films do that, but you don't really need to always increase the shutter speed. A lot of like Jackie Chan movies, I really love fight movies, but he kind of like sticks to 30 frames per second, so you see the blur, so the action looks a lot faster. And that's kind of like where I like to keep my shutter speed. 30 frames per second with a 60 shutter. Alright guys, as always, this is Britannia Pen from 4i Focus, and this has been a FEF Tips Tuesday. If you like what you saw, leave a comment down below, hit us up with the like button, let us know what you want to hear, what you want to see us do for the next video. Yeah, just let us know what you think. We like hearing what you think.
Where your head at though?
Right here.
Where your head at?
Right here.
Where your head at?
Where your head?
I'm reading your shirt.
Oh, why?
Because it says where your head at on your shirt.
Ah, whoops. I don't even know my own shirt. I just put on clothes this morning. I don't even know what I'm wearing.